How to pick your next TBR using these. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Three River Books. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to pick your next TBR using dice. Alright, so this is nothing new. I've seen it a couple of times on YouTube. People use different types of dice. I don't want you to get caught up in the type of dice. I just want you to get caught up in how I pick my TBRs. As you can see behind me, I have quite a bunch of books that need to be read. Now, ideally, the way this works is you have to have a good number of books. A good number of books kind of depends on you. You could use a stack of books. You can use one row of books, but it has to be at least more than 6. The smallest number of dice that I think you should use is either the 1 to 4 or the 1 to 6. All right, the 1 to 6 is probably most prevalent in most games, card games, Yahtzee, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be Dungeons and Dragons dice, but you do need dice and you do need to have a good stack of books. Let me just go over the rules, and I'll put all these rules down below. I'll show you how to do this. Most people, what they would do is they would take a number and put it on their book and then just roll one of the dice and just read that book according to that die. That's a very, very simple way of doing it. I tend to go a little bit higher because what I want to do is, as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3 bookshelves, and every bookshelf has 5 shelves full of books that I need to read. So my TBR is going to be way bigger than most people's. However, I'm going to give you the rules, and then I'm going to put them down below in the description box so you can follow them and have some fun with it. Ideally, it's fun, right? So rule number 1, give Three River Books credit in the description and ask for a sub to his channel. Yes, that is a little bit of self-promotion. So again, what I'm doing is, if you use this method and it works for you and it's fun, share it with your friends. Also, give me a little bit of credit. All right, number 2, have shelf, or stack of books, mostly of unread books. All right, so it kind of makes sense, but I want you to understand that if there's a book up there because you need the bookshelf that it is already read and you don't want to read it, there's another rule in here that will have you omit it. All right. You need to have a good number of books for this to work, obviously. Rule number 3, you can use any dice, die, or multiple dice for this game. So if you only have the regular dice, not D&D dice, the one that has dots on it, you can use those dice. The rule is a higher number dice than the books on the shelf. So let's, for example, if I have 10 books on the shelf and I only have one 6-sided die, I'm going to need to use 6-sided die, or what I can do is you roll the dice twice to equal up to 12. So as long as it's over the number of books that you have on the shelf, you're good. You could use 2 die, you could use 3 die, you could roll it 3 times and just add up the max. All right, that's completely up to you. All right, rule number 4, you can skip a book selection only one time. All right, so this is where it gets kind of fun. While you're picking up there, if it's a book that you have not read and it's not a reread, you can skip it one time. So that means if you're going to pick 4 books and one of the 4th book is no good or you don't want to read it right now, you can skip it one time and re-roll, but only do it one time. The rest of the books you have to read. Okay. All right. Rule number 5, if it is a series of books, you can choose which book in the series to read. So if you look behind me, I have quite a bunch of series of books. Like I have trilogies, I have 4s, I have 5s, I have 10s. I got the Malazan series. That's a whole 10 book series. If it is a series of books and it lands on that series of books, but it lands on book 5, I don't expect you to read book 5 first. You can start with book 1. If you already read book 1, then just skip over to book 2. As long as it lands on that bookshelf, you're good to go. Just pick the next book in the series if you like. Rule number 6, if it's a book you already read, you can re-roll or you can select the book to the right or left. Rereading your selection is also acceptable. So again, like I just said, if I fall on a Malazan book and I already read it, I have a choice. 1, I could re-roll and go again to try to pick another shelf. 2, I can just stay on that shelf and pick the book to the left or right. Or 3, I could just reread it. Rule number 7, the number of dice is lower than the number of books on the shelf. So again, like I said, this is a 6-sided die, and I have 10 books on the shelf. Well, maybe with D&D, it's great because I have a 20-sided die, right? I would roll this dice. Or I have a 12-sided die. That kind of works out for me. All right, so I have 10 books on the shelf. I have a 12-sided die. I'm going to use a 12-sided die. All right, that's kind of how that works. Again, you don't have to use D&D dice, but if you had a couple number sixes, you can just add them together or just roll them all together and see what you get. Now, if that dice rolls on a 12 and I have 10 books up there, I'm just going to re-roll. I think that having a D&D dice makes things work a lot faster, but again, you work out your own mathematical system. That's up to you. Rule number 8. You may read a paperback, different size, digital edition, or audio version of this book selection and still be in compliance. All right, so the way it works very simply is, a lot of these books are really big. This is the book that's on my last TBR that I'm still reading. All right, this is The Priority of Orange. This is still on August reading list, and I'm only a couple pages in. This thing's over, I think, 1,000 pages. Where are we? It's almost like 800 pages. But if I wanted to put this in digital format instead of reading this big tome, then I could do that. That is acceptable. If I wanted to do it in audio version, then that's acceptable as well. All right. So I don't want you to get caught up on the paper editions. I think the paper editions for me is a lot easier to pick off the shelf. But again, to each his own. If you want to get it in an audio book, you can do so. All right. All right. So let's get into the directions. Directions are very simple. All right. So it says roll the number. It says roll the dice. Whatever number comes up on the bookcase, you're going to pick from. All right. So we're going to roll. See, I have 1, 2, 3 bookcases in back of me. So we're going to start from the left, which is 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to take my 4-sided die. All right, because I have one extra number. There's no 3-sided die, so I'm going to use my 4. All right, this is the 1d4 from Dungeons and Dragons. You could also use the 1d6 if you wanted to, if that's all you had. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice, and it's a 3. All right, so now I'm over here. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3. On this side, this is where I'm going to pick from. That's my bookcase. If you only have one bookcase, or if you only have a stack of books, then you don't have to worry about that. You can skip this part. All right. Now, roll the dice. Whatever number comes up is the shelf that you can pick from. All right. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves of that bookcase. So I don't have a 5-sided die. I have a 6-sided. So let me roll that. Number 3. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so on my 3rd, I have a whole bunch of nice books over there, so we're going to take a look at that. Now it says, whatever number comes up starting from the left to right is your book. All right, so now I got to find out how many books I have there. Most of the books I have there, it's probably in between 15 and 20. On every bookshelf, I made sure I had 15 and 20, so I'm going to take my 20-sided die and then roll the dice. So it's number 17. So it's going to be the last one. So let's go take a look at what we have. All right, guys. So again, like I said, I got 1, 2, 3 for my bookcases. And then I have the 3rd shelf, 1, 2, 3, and then book 17. So let's see what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So Tad Williams, the Angel Green. Again, like I said, if it's in a series, I can pick the book that I need to read first. So this is the first book. I'm going to pick this one. All right, Tad Williams, The Dragon Bone Chair, book 1 of The Memory of Sorrow. So let's go back. All right, guys, so for my TBR for September, this is the first book that I have not read. If I read this book, I would have a chance to either select from the left or right, or what I could do is reread it or re-roll. All right, so I have been wanting to read this, so thank you very much. The dice gods have spoken. I cannot break this code. This is going to be one of the books on top of The Priority of Orange that I need to read. So now I'm going to pick 2 other books because I think a lot of these books are pretty chunky. And then I'm going to get to it and then we'll finish up. So let's try this again, all right? Just to give you an idea. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3 bookshelves. I'm going to use my 4-sided die, and it says 3 again. All right, maybe I'll get lucky. I'll get 2. All right, I got 5 shelves up there. I'm going to use my 6-sided die. 4th, so now it's the 4th shelf. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then I'm going to use my 20-sided die because they're anywhere from 15 to 20. And it is a 13. So let me see what I got. All right. So I got Emotional Intelligence by Travis Berry and James Greaves. All right. So again, not all my books are fantasy books. I do like a lot of self-help or or stoic type of books. I've never read this book. I must have bought it some time ago. But again, good book. I'll put that at my TBR. Right. Now I got one more I got to choose from. So let's try it again. I'm gonna roll them all together. All right. So go ahead, kiss the die, see what happens. All right. Again, shelf 3. So bookshelf 3, 5th row is the bottom. Oh no, I'm sorry, 4th row again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5th book in. The 5th Season by N.K. Jesman. So again, I have not read this book. It landed on book 2, but I switched to book 1 because I have not read it. All right, so there we go. All right, guys, so this is my TBR for September. All right, so not so bad. I mean, this book is going to take a little bit to get through. So again, priority of orange. I have the 5th Season by N.K. Jasmine. I have Emotional Intelligence by Travis Berry and James Greaves. All right, pretty nice. And of course, I have Tad Williams. All right, Tad Williams is something I've been wanting to read as well. All right, you don't have to read them in any order, just as long as you get through them before the month. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Let me know if you use this type of method. Again, you don't have to use Dungeons and Dragon dice, but I find it very, very convenient, especially when you could just roll all 3 dice and be done with it. Thank you very much, guys. What I need you to do is to like, subscribe, share this method with everybody. Please make sure that you give me a little bit of credit if you use this method, and as you can see, it goes really, really quick. Thank you very much, guys, and as always, keep reading.